everyone, it's me, Sean Capri, and welcome to episode a very special, wait, what did I just say? Welcome to episode 116 of We the GamerCast. It's a bonus Patreon-powered episode of We the GamerCast, thanks to everybody at patreon.com/makeusbetter. We're doing 2 returning guests per month. This is the back half of Nintendo Dad's November. That's right. Oh, Lincoln just burped. I don't know if that probably got picked up, because Lord knows this thing picks up all the dogs and all the noises. Getting a little far ahead of myself. Thank you guys for being here, for listening, for rating us on iTunes, and giving the thumbs up on youtube.com/WeTheNerdy. And a big high five and special thank you to our amazing patrons at patreon.com/makeusbetter. Like our, what do we call it, Lincoln? Patreon. The Platinum. We're just going to keep rolling. Platinum executive producer, Mr. Corey Hicks. Our gold executive producer, Mr. Sheldon Benedict. And all of our lovely gentlemen, executive producers, Nick Milicia from Next Level Games, James Johnson, Dr. Doom, Jesse Armstrong, Glauco, Shaffer, Joey Hehir, David Ray, Mike Drummie, and Brendan Myers, coming to you guys on a very special American Thanksgiving, coming from you, a Canadian. I'm going to be talking to another Canadian who doesn't even live here, so whatever that means. I'm going to keep it really quick. I actually think that it's great to be doing this on American Thanksgiving. Those of you who have been listening to me for a little while know that I love American Thanksgiving. I've been home with the boy. I got home today from Toronto, so a quick special thank you to Mr. Brock McLaughlin, Ryan Turford, and Drew McMillan, who hosted me so graciously in Toronto this week. I had an amazing time, just got back safe and sound, back to dadding this evening, and I have so many people to thank for everything that this show is, and the Xbox Drive, and If We Ran Nintendo, and the new gaming group, everything with Make Us Better. It's incredible. But I thought I would give a quick shout out to Andrew Semicek for everything that he's done for me through We the Nerdy, Dave Moore through Dayspace and Forget Being Cool, Bobby, Toby, Joseph, everybody with our Make Us Better Patreon. It is just incredible. So I just wanted to give a quick word of thanks before we get right into it, because this is a great conversation. We span, I don't even know how many topics. It's impossible to count all the topics, actually. So why don't we get into it? You guys know who he is. Justin Masson from the Nintendo Dads. He's one of the original dads, living in Ireland. So this is a good chat. You can follow him on Twitter at Masson23 or at Nintendo Dads. Here he is, Justin Masson!
I just got this new mug.
That's awesome! Look at his Yoda ears.
Yeah, like that's a double fister is what that is. That's a hot cup of tea.
That is amazing.
That
must take up so much space in your cupboard, though.
Yeah, it's completely impractical. We have a small cupboard here.
You need those things to like pop off or something, and then like insert on the side.
And like if anything feels like it's gonna break, 2 awkwardly shaped Yoda ears. That's the thing.
Those are the. It's a mug like that makes you go, I should appreciate every special moment with this.
Yeah,
with this
everything
guy.
is just not gonna
like
last.
Not your kids or anything like that. It's that fragile, like it's perpetually fragile. That mug. It's got the sharp corners on the ears.
Mm-hmm. And it's really quite impractical because like I have like, you know, I would say normal man-sized hands, and I can only get like 2 fingers in there. And it's kind of awkward, and you're kind of holding it like this. Like there's a lot of strain on this muscle in my forearm.
You think that would be like with all the trigger work that you've been doing, like but it's different. Right? It's just one over.
I just got to lift like weighted Yoda teacups.
What do you feel about? It's hot tea though. Like you don't drink tea lukewarm, so you're jamming your fingers in there, and there's not like any space.
Burning.
So you must have like quite the calluses on those, like that first knuckle.
Just like muscles and callus, like thick. Like you would think I, beat rocks all day with just my, knuckles.
I think it's an important way for you to assimilate into Irish culture. Like I think that you do need strong hands, strong calloused hands.
Yeah, I think that and being a drunk. I think those are the things that you need to do. I'm not gonna lie to you. I went out last night with the lads, and we took the piss out, and we were out for 10 hours last night.
Were you really?
Yeah, we left at 4 in the afternoon. No, you know what? We started drinking at 4 in the afternoon. We stopped at 3 this morning. So it was 11 hours of drinking
Here
straight.
I am going, okay, I got to line up some time with Justin, and I just want to make sure that, like, his family is all good, like, he spend family time, and maybe later on at night is good for him, but...
Yeah.
So that... Maybe I didn't have to worry so much about it, or now have to be especially sensitive to it.
Well, no, it was. So we went out last night, and then this is usually the time the kids have gone to bed. So that was right. Well, that was why I said this time works. This time works well because I've had my family time. I've sobered up enough to have a proper conversation. I'm gonna be honest. I was like, I might just go grab a pint right now.
You should.
Crack it open. Drink. It doesn't go well with the tea, but my wife's hopefully bringing me biscuits with my tea. And that's grand.
I'm kind of disappointed. Well, this is the thing about you being in Ireland is normally I like these shows, these the second recurring guest coming back, like these bonus episodes. I like to have these ones over a beer. Usually, it's in the morning or afternoon, kind of like I'm doing right now, but I like these extra ones to be a little on the other side. Do
you want to go get a beer right now? We'll drink together.
That would be...
Okay, let's do that. Okay, give me a beer.
I actually don't even know if...
Don't give me this. It's only 4 in the afternoon.
I know, and now you're going to call me out, and I don't think I have any in the house. I think I drank it all.
Are you kidding me? Okay, well, I'm going to go grab a beer. Hold on.
Please do. We'll put in some, like, weird kind of, like, intermission music right here.
Yeah, hold on.
I like it.
All right, there we go.
What did you get?
So this is Bulmer's. Bulmer's Irish cider. Very popular here. My first time I saw this, I called it Bloomers.
Yeah.
Which is not what it is.
That probably. I bet nobody called you out on that.
The barman did.
Yeah, I'm totally kidding.
Very kind about that. He's like Bulmers, not Bloomers. And that was Scottish, not Irish.
Yeah,
He was a Scottish bartender.
Oh, how's that working out for him?
Not well. People don't like him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So this is this would be known and apparently this is known everywhere else in the world as Magners or Magners.
Lay down the knowledge, Justin.
Magners. So you could find this at your local beer house.
I probably should just go you were into the kitchen. I'll just run to the liquor store, which is just kind of
you could.
I can just run through my neighbor's yard and I'm right there.
Oh, your neighbor. If you have a good neighbor, you should walk over their door. Yeah. How are you?
That was you knocking. I missed that. I thought your biscuits were ready. I don't know if you can hear my dog. I'm just kind of doing a quick sound check. Can you hear my dog whining like a little bee over there?
Yeah, I do hear something for sure.
Yeah, that's a dog who is making his last appearance on the podcast.
It's not super noticeable. Like, if it's one of those things like, can you hear that? You're like, well, now I can.
I'm glad I pointed it out. Damn it.
Yeah, now I can really hear it.
Yeah, he's not happy because we were just feeding Lincoln and who's like Cookie Monster. He just kind of like throws food at his face and lets everything fall out. And so the dogs really like that because then they go eat all this real food. He's eating fruits and veggies and things like that, and they love it and they go clean up after him. We didn't let them do that. Chelsea took Link out and they went to we're going to eat some pizza. And so she went to grab that and a couple groceries and we just locked them up and now he's whining like a little bee. But that doesn't matter very much, Justin. I want to know, I have a very important question for you. You can go ahead and chug that. I want a nice, freshly, maybe even tipsy Justin Masson on this one. Why have you abandoned the Nintendo dads, Justin Masson?
Why have I abandoned them?
Why have you abandoned them? I want to get into this. I didn't get into this with Zach. He spoke very kindly of you, which I didn't appreciate. I wanted some smack talk.
I PayPal'd them $20 later to tell them to shut up. So let me ask you this: then, how do you feel I've abandoned you? Let's stop. Let's maybe reverse.
Don't turn. No, that doesn't work.
Understand yours.
Listen, maybe the first time you came onto this show, I would fall for that kind of garbage. But I don't know if you noticed, but this is episode 116.
Yeah, you're a champ.
The fact is, you abandoned your country. Okay, well, how about we put it that way? You abandoned your country, and you abandoned your countrymen, and your podcast co-host. You are. I have another side of this, just so that you don't feel too bad. I'll give you a little. I have another end of this, so because I'll shit on them too.
Yeah, good.
So we'll start with you, good sir.
Yeah. Sir, yeah. So I would say I would start with this. I do not feel like I have abandoned my country. As a proud Canadian.
Okay.
I believe that over here in Ireland, we are flying our Canadian flag very proudly here. and representing well. So I would say we are not abandoning that.
So that means you're coming back.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, so people do ask that. Like, so are you coming back? We will come back to Canada. We don't know when yet, but we will come. We will be returning to Canada.
It sounds like you're being held there. And you're like, they've promised us refuge and escape
eventually, but we don't know.
Good behavior.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a determined amount of time. So 2 years is our guaranteed minimum for our term, and then after that, we kind of have some decisions that we can make. So, at the end of that 2 years, we may come back, or we may stay a year or two. I would say this: our end goal is not to be permanent residents of Ireland. I think we are proud Canadians. We love our country. We love our family, and we do want to come back. Just this was too much of an amazing opportunity not to pass up.
How is it going? Like okay, I'm gonna come back to Nintendo Dads, but this is really the thing because I'm going to Toronto tomorrow. Good God, I have to hit pause. Hang on a second.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm going to Toronto tomorrow, and it's kind of like traveling by myself is about as easy as it gets, but making sure that everything is taken care of. I just kind of grabbed all the Christmas stuff out of the shed, and it's now getting ready to be kind of unpacked and everything. So I've got a couple things that I wanted to take care of today before going, and I was like, it's not exactly like the most comfortable day. Like, it's not the easiest day. And so I've definitely been, not even just today, this is just a recent example, but I often think of you and the family and just kind of like, okay, here's everybody, here's the thing. You're going to a different school, and it's not across the street, it's not across town. We're getting in a plane, we're going to visit the leprechauns. So like, what's the adjustment period? Is there even like an end to it? Is it always kind of just like difficult? I imagine it's not easy. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, I think you're always adjusting in some way. You're always learning something new every moment. And I think what we found very quickly or understood was how you define home changes. So we used to define home as Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. But after arriving here in Waterford, we began to identify home as wherever we were together. And that to us began part of the change process.
Was that like active conversations you guys were having, or is it just something, a realization you came to?
I think it was kind of an active conversation, right? Because as you're letting things go, because interestingly enough, when we were coming over here, I guess I'll back it up a little bit. So we applied for it. We were saying, okay, we're going to do this. We made some conversations. We had said to the girls back in October, we said, hey, what do you think about moving to Ireland?
Right.
As if proposing a question to them, which we really shouldn't have.
That's pretty risky.
More of a statement, right? Because it's like, which would you prefer? What do you want to do? And our hope was that they're both going to be very excited about this and think it's a really cool opportunity. And they both went, no. Yeah. No, hard pass. We're not doing that. And so that took time for us to kind of understand what their concerns were. And of course, their concerns are very easy, right? Their concerns are, I'm going to miss my friends. I'm going to miss, my toys, like those things, right? Which for us, a small child, are massive, right? And you need to be able to. For
an adult, that's massive. I would list those two in the exact same order. Yep. If Chelsea said, I got this great opportunity and it's Australia, I'd be like, but my toys and my friends.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's this weird conversation that we just kind of eventually found ourselves to, right? Of this is what we're going to do, and the kids finally got on board, and we began purging our house. Yeah. Because we were only going to bring a certain amount of things over to Ireland. We made a very conscious decision that we were only bringing 3 bags each.
Oh wow!
For our entire life.
Holy crap!
And so what I mean by 3 bags each, let me just make sure that
knapsacks.
So you fly, right? So when you fly, you get to bring on your like under the seat bag, right? You get to also bring on a small carry-on bag, right? And then you get to bring like your big luggage bag, and those are all checked for free,
right?
And that was it. So we got each family member a full set of that stuff and said, that's it.
It seems like you're going for like an achievement or a trophy there in life. Just like finish the move on extra hard. Like you did like move across the ocean on veteran mode.
Yeah. So I mean, well, one of the things but it puts you in a really interesting position when you basically have to purge your life.
Mm-hmm.
You begin to look at all the things around you and say, what value does this have? Is this really important?
Yeah, man.
Where is this in my life? I mean, here's a great example. My youngest daughter had got a new bicycle in July.
Mm-hmm.
And it was July, and so we got her to learn how to ride her bike by herself and on her two wheels, and she was great. And then it was August, and so she got to ride a couple more times. September gets into the garage. October comes, and all of a sudden, then the snow comes.
Right.
So no more riding the bike. Right, makes sense. So we're beginning to purge our house, and we're looking at this bike, and my wife and I both look at each other, and like, in 2 years, if we come back in 2 years, she'll have outgrown this bike.
Oh, big time.
So this bike's value is now very small.
Yeah.
And are we going to pack this bike like into our box? It's going to stay in Lethbridge? Doesn't make sense,
mm-hmm.
right? So then we have to have a conversation with your daughter saying, you know that new bike you got that you love so much? Yeah, we're going to sell it, right? And they're like, but I rode it like 3 times. And we're like, yeah, but
you're like, trust me, this hurts me more than you.
Yeah, it was like these kind of hard conversations,
mm-hmm.
right? And you begin to really evaluate what's in your life. So when you come over with only 13 bags, right? Like I remember Jody and I were sorting through our clothes, and I'm holding up things, and I'm looking at the shirt, and I'm like, yeah, no, that's too small for me, or that's team fat, or
mm-hmm.
like, no, this is not going to work. And you just boil everything down. But when we came over here, we actually didn't know where we were going to live for sure. We didn't actually for sure even have a house.
Yeah.
So when we submitted for our paperwork to come over to Ireland, and we didn't get approval until 2 weeks before we were supposed to actually fly out.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks. So we had to.
This isn't surprising me though. Like all these additional like add-ons of being difficult is just like, I guess this is just the Masson way of moving to Ireland, because it already wasn't hard enough. Family of 4, 3 bags, 2 weeks.
So
never coming back.
Yeah, you never know. And that's the other thing, is we never really know. Like we could all of a sudden get over here and decide, yes, this is it. But we've kind of had some conversations initially, so there's this kind of weird place in life. But
yeah,
we were near the end of March. We wanted to leave on the kids' Easter break, so that when the kids' Easter break occurred in Canada, it lined up with the Easter break here in Ireland,
mm-hmm.
so they could very easily transition into school. It is the end of March. We haven't got final confirmation that our paperwork has been approved.
Mm-hmm.
We have kind of tentatively got a box coming. We've basically sold a lot of stuff in our house, but we don't have final word. Because if they deny it, they're like, no, you can't come here, then we can't move.
Yeah.
So you're kind of sitting on this like trigger moment, right? And I remember I had to go to like Connecticut for a week, that week beforehand, for actual work. I was down there. I came back. And so my wife and I are just in these stressful, just
yes, because
so much
life
stress
is still going on.
Yeah.
Like it's not like you can just like pause all the rest of the stuff, like raising the family and working and I don't know, mowing the lawn and all the other stuff that goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like when we finally made the actual decision to for sure sign the paperwork and move. I was actually in Kansas City.
Oh my gosh,
for work, and the paperwork came through, and I'd like bring my wife up on Skype, and I'm like, all right, we're good with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to sign it right now. We're not even the same country making this decision, right?
Does she normally do Skype?
She does like Messenger. Sorry, it's more Facebook Messenger than Skype.
I just want to add, because I feel like with us doing podcasts over Skype all the time, like it's become so like second nature to us. Like, oh, just like fire it up on Skype. But I'll find myself, like, my brother lives in Vancouver, and I'm like, we should do Skype sometime. He's like, oh, Skype. Oh, I wonder if I still have this. Like it's like it's not quite as instant. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so like I like it. I kind of just want it to proliferate, like because I mean we all have family that's everywhere,
mm-hmm.
and this is just so easy. But anyways, I'm just curious to see if like Chelsea, I think would be the same. Like Skype.
Yeah, we use Facebook Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the video function there.
That's what Bobby and I do.
Yeah,
Bobby
and
drives home and he calls me up. He's like, "Hey, honey."
That sounds like a Bobby thing. I appreciate that. So I got back from Kansas City. I got this call from my boss who's Irish, and he's like, hey, guess what showed up here? And I was like, I don't know what. Like, I'm at this point, I'm just frustrated. He's like, oh, your paperwork showed up here. You're approved.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so now you need to overnight mail that to me here in Canada. We need to execute on this. So I will say this, from when we actually got approval that it was done to us leaving Canada was a total of 2 weeks.
Jeez.
For us to pack our entire life in the box.
Mm-hmm.
get the property manager. We'd already kind of keyed up. Leave, do this like last family tour of Alberta where we saw all of our family. Like every day we're crying. Everyone's upset and sad.
Oh my God, I didn't know you did that.
Oh yeah, and then like so by the time like we're just done and exhausted, and then we're literally selling my car because we're not driving the car to Ireland. Next
question.
So
yep.
What are you gonna do with that? So I drove up to my mom who lives in.
That would have been maximum difficulty, by the way. I'm just gonna wait until I'm driving the car to Ireland.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see now. How can I get on a boat or go underwater? We'll see. So the last couple of days we stayed with my mom who's up in Airdrie, and this was kind of thing like you're just skirting around the conversation. Like everywhere we went, no one really like it was all like, oh hey, how's it going? What's did y'all watch the hockey game? And these regular conversations. And it's like, okay, well, I've got to go now somewhere else. And then there was like this click.
Yeah, this is real.
And then they're like, this is real, right? So like every place we went, people are crying before the time we left. So my mom drives me and Jody and the girls. And we actually take two vehicles because we had so much suitcase, and like they drive us literally to the airport. We pack everything on the trolleys, kind of give your mom like one last hi, bye, big hug. Everyone's crying. My mom's a wreck. My stepdad's actually like, do you want me to drive you home? And I'll come back for your other vehicle at another time. And then I just left everything with them. And so you've got all these bags. You kind of go through the airport. You're managing everyone. Do we have all the paperwork? Do we have all the visas? Do you like I have a folder of stuff. And you get through, everything's checked. You've got all your packages, your bags, and everything. And we get through security, and they're like, oh, the plane's about 90 minutes away.
Yeah.
Right. So there's an area in the airport. And they're like, okay, kids, go play. And so Jody and I sat down for a moment, and that was when everything hit us like a brick.
Oh my gosh!
And
even before you go.
I remember sitting in the Calgary International Airport, and we're looking at each other, and our eyes are just starting to water, and we're not saying a word. And we're like. Because you probably hadn't fully processed everything.
You couldn't.
You were going through the beats of it.
Yeah.
Up until then, and the kids are running around. They're having a grand time, right? They're playing. They're like, "Oh, this is great! I'm in the big airplane." And you're just like, you look at each other for a second. You're like, "What have we done? Like, are we doing the right thing? Right. Are we absolutely mad for doing this?" Because the other part of it was coming to Ireland. We didn't actually even have a house we were going to, for sure or defined.
It sounds like an adventure, man.
It absolutely was. And we look back, and it's amazing that occurs, but not you have this moment of like, are we doing what is right, of what's best, right? We are now literally living with 13 bags, and we don't know where we're going.
Do you have at least like at the other end? Do you have a helping hand? Like, is there anybody on the other side to like guide you a little bit?
Yeah, so the company was really good. They actually like supplied us with a relocation service that local to here, and then my boss lives here, and so we had some kind of friends and networks that way that could support us through all that. And my company was quite good with all that support as well.
So it's not completely like backpacking to Europe like a 20-year-old.
No, you're not completely mad that way, but
but pretty close.
Yeah, very close, right? You put a lot of faith in a lot of other people.
So it's funny that you and your kids did this flip, where you introduce the idea of like we like it and we hope that you guys are pumped about it, and they're like, nah, not quite. And then in the airport you have that role reversal.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because I think the other thing is that I think as a father, as a husband, right, you look at your spouse and you see them kind of processing this too.
Yeah.
Right. And we've had conversations about it, and you're like, I know that you're doing this. I know that you've been under incredible stress because of these things that I've committed or doing. Right, that have put us in the situation, and just how strong you are for getting us here. And like there's these like no words can really discuss it, but there's just this amazing kind of like pride and love and support to be able to move forward with that. And it's just one of those moments of like, but at the same time also looking at each other, understanding that whatever is going to happen, it's going to be okay.
We're a team,
right? But yeah, we're a team, and because these 4 people is where home is.
Love that.
Right. This is what our home is. Right. Wherever we are. I mean, the first 4 days we were here, we lived in a hotel. Ironically enough, there was a contract basically signed with the hotel that like we were going to be there for 30 days. Yeah. In case we could find a house. And I was like, you want to live in a hotel for 30 days? That sounds horrible.
That's a lot of days, man.
Right. So yeah. So that's kind of how it all shook out. And now it's been 7 months. And it's normalized, but there's things you kind of learn every day. And I mean, how they celebrate Christmas here, how they don't celebrate Thanksgiving here.
What's different about Christmas?
There's no snow, Sean.
Oh, well, yeah.
Rain.
I know.
So,
They're like, I just grabbed all the Christmas stuff out of the shed. I had to shovel my way to get to the shed. That's what I'm dealing with right now. But I love it, man. Like, that's the whole thing. And I mean, I don't want to get too much into this, but my grandma just fortunately passed away, but it has this weird thing of bringing the family together. And we've been spending a lot of family time early, like around American Thanksgiving here, which is, to me, I think that's like the best way. Canadians need to adopt this Thanksgiving really as the kickstarting of the holiday season, because I love it. And it has felt more like Christmas this year than in previous years, and I just love it because of the snow and the family time, and my brother's coming up from Vancouver and all these other things. But I wanted to ask you about this whole experience, Justin, because I know how seriously you take your role as a husband and as a father, and I always enjoy hearing your perspective on that, because it's fairly procedural in a way. It's very like organized, and like you can kind of look at, okay, if I were to do this, I would do these activities with it. I definitely wanted to jump into that, because I don't necessarily know that I don't know too many other people who've made this type of move, but also with all of those complexities of, because I think what ended up happening was, and I started this as a joke for a reason, because the whole why have you abandoned us, why have you abandoned the Nintendo dads, to then dive into, no, this was like a big deal. Like, this wasn't just I packed my bags and I moved over. This was a huge thing, and it required a lot of thought and organization and communication with the family. So I wanted to jump into that to give you a little bit of a chance to kind of talk about that a little bit, because I almost catch myself, and maybe even the Nintendo Dad's audience catches themselves, maybe of, oh, well, he's just in a different place. Like, they see you on the YouTubes, and they still communicate with you on Twitter. So for them, you haven't been displaced. Because you still appear in the same places, but physical location obviously very different. So
there's a lot to unpack there, right? For what you do. And like when the decision came up, I think, if we go back to the family part, the father, the husband, mentally I begin kind of like weighing in my head these thoughts of like, what is the value? What is the positives that come out of this? What are the potential negatives? Is the impact higher than the positive, right? So if I think of some positives, it's like cultural experience. The kids and the family get to understand what Irish culture is, right? Not only just Irish culture, but I think to be able to have the opportunity to expand either your perspective, your knowledge, or your understanding, not only of another culture, but I think the reflection of your own culture.
Big time.
I think you discover more what it means to be Canadian when you are not in Canada.
Yep.
And you begin to understand that identity and that voice. And I came back to Canada in October for a couple days. I was in Quebec City for a CEO award for work. And I cannot tell you, having been gone from Ireland, or being in Ireland, coming back to Canada, the warm blanket of a hug it felt like to come home, and this pride and this familiarity and this, like, I would call it a polite pride, which is like what I think Canadians are. Is we have a polite pride of being home. Should be on our money, man. Yeah, and it just felt right. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but man, also at the same I totally do.
So I think that's important from just a family perspective, and then from the kids to understand what does that mean for them, right? Because here we still celebrate all of our Canadian. Oh, that's cool. We had Canadian Thanksgiving here. Yeah. Right, and we had my boss and his family come over and celebrate with us, right? Yeah. And they're like, "So what is Canadian Thanksgiving?" I'm like, "Well, it's not American Thanksgiving. Let's talk about that right now, right?" And then it's
here I am saying we should adopt it. And
yeah, like, I know. I was like, "You traitor, get out of our country."
Well, the best thing is we get both. It's just like Black Friday. We've adopted that as well. So and Boxing Day, so it's all good.
Yeah. And then like, Remembrance Day occurred, and just kind of all these Canadian pieces, right? And then it's so I think when I looked at that list, and then to be exposed to not only Irish culture, but being so close in proximity to every other country in Europe.
No kidding.
And to be able to visit those places and have cultural experiences, right? So we've been to, and I don't mean to like brag, it's just the opportunities, right? We have been to Rome, we've been to Scotland, Northern Ireland. I was over to London. We just came back from Paris. We're going to Spain in next month. We're going to Poland. And just to be able to expose your kids to that, like, different cultures and different areas and history. Like we went and saw the Mona Lisa. We were at the Colosseum, right? These amazing opportunities that I think if you can provide your children with those things, and I want to take a step back and understand that we are blessed to be able to do that.
Yeah, man.
Right, like that is not like growing up. I never thought this opportunity would have occurred. If you said 10 years ago you're moving here, this would never occurred. If you said to me 3 years ago, I wouldn't believe you. But to when you look, and I guess it goes back to your question, when you look at that score, that plus and minus, right? Giving my children and the family this exposure, this opportunity, in the minus column, the thing that I think of emotionally is we are removing them from their being able to connect with their grandmothers, their cousins.
Oh gosh, yeah, no kidding.
Jody's brothers on a regular basis, right? And so a decision I'm making, or we're making, Jody and I, has a ripple impact to everyone. Yeah. Right. And so are we okay with what that impact is to those individuals emotionally, from so what's the impact on my mom, what's the impact on Jody's brothers, to then what's the impact on my daughters and not being able to see their grandparents, right? Because not having seen my father growing up a lot, I understand the absence of roles sometimes. So, how do those things kind of weigh in and do the pros and cons outweigh, right? And then ultimately we kind of made that decision. And then the other part is how does you're also, and I think you made the point as well, you're tearing away all social networks, like not social networks, sorry, friendship networks.
Right. Like the actual, like, I'm going to come over to your house for coffee kind of connection.
Gone.
So what about, so you said with family in Airdrie, which for people who don't know, like, it's not exactly around the corner from Lethbridge. Like, you're, 90 minutes away? A couple hours anyways.
We're about 2.5, yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So you're, like, there's a thing that I sort of consider sometimes where, like, my grandma used to live in Calgary, and there's this thing where I go, if you're not within 45 minutes, you might as well be 45 hours away, right? So if you're, like, if I were to move to an extreme end of the city, I could be very far away from my parents, and I might as well be in Japan, because like, you're just never gonna make that trek over. So maybe does that become part of it too? Like, where you guys drive, like, Southern Alberta is also different, because maybe when you're outside of Edmonton and Calgary, I think you're maybe more used to driving around and traveling to go see one another. You're a little bit more dispersed.
Yeah. It would not be uncommon for us in the morning on a Saturday morning to kind of get up at 7 and be like, you know what, we're going to the Calgary Zoo, and we'll meet you there, and we'll spend 7-8 hours there at the zoo. We'll go out for dinner, a bite to eat, and then we'll maybe nip our way back to Lethbridge at 9 p.m. at night, and the kids will be in bed. So you'd have like a 12-hour day with them. That's
really cool, man. Does that lifestyle kind of like translate? I feel like maybe there is some similarities there, because, like I said, the city life in Alberta is like, if you're a half an hour away, probably not going to see it for a little while. But does that translate over to, like, where, like, in Ireland, are you on, like, on the countryside? Like, there's a landscape and the city. Like, how does everything kind of compare?
So the funniest thing I find about Ireland, so let's see, Lethbridge to Edmonton, what is that, 5 hours?
Yeah.
It's 5 hours, right? Yeah. So just as a reference point, driving from Lethbridge to Edmonton is literally driving from the north part to the south part of Ireland, the entire country. Yeah. Soup to nuts. That's the entire country. So there's this weird disproportion of, like, I remember we got here, we had no cutlery, plates, dishes, bowls in the house here that we got. So we're like, we're going to make a trip to go find stuff. And so we're talking, where would you find stuff in Waterford? And they're like, you go to this little shop, and it's wicked expensive. And so Jody's like, well, maybe we'll just drive to Dublin. We'll drive up to Dublin, 2-hour drive, and we'll get stuff from IKEA. And everyone's like, oh, you wouldn't want to do that. IKEA's, that's too far. 2 hours? That's too far. It's mad. No, you wouldn't do that.
That's what I would say.
That's half the country. And we're like, that's like every Saturday for us. Right? Like that is. So there's this weird connection, but it's all relative to where you are. And I think you made a comment on an episode recently, like, how far is Toronto from you? And you said a week's drive. Yeah. Right? Like, and I was like, because our country is so big, that you're just used to it. Right? So a drive is not too bad. You asked a little bit about, like, where we are. So I'm in a city called Waterford, which is down by the southeastern area of Ireland. I'll put it as a reference. I am 15-minute drive from the ocean. Oh, that's amazing. Which is absolutely freaking amazing. Yeah. I'm 15 minutes from a refinery. Yeah, I know, right? It's like, I was like, I don't think I can get out of my province in less than 3 hours any direction I go. And the population of Waterford is about 65,000. Lethbridge was 90,000. So it's again not too dissimilar, right? Relatively the same. But yeah, and then here between, and I think to your point, like between cities, there's the Irish rolling green countrysides of sheep and walls, and usually a pub and a chippers, right? And like that is, I mean, literally, you'll drive through like a small, like you'll drive through a
sheep
small
and walls. That's my favorite. That's the title of the episode right there.
Very, very small roads, Sean. Like, it's a bit maddening. But every city you drive through, every small town, even if it's like 15 people, they will have the following things: a Chippers, a pub, a Centra, which is like your corner market small store,
sure,
and a place to place bets.
Amazing.
Those are the four like cornerstones of every city town in the Irish culture.
So what's that like when you get there and you discover that all the stereotypes are true?
It's a bit mad.
You're like, wait,
like you're like, oh,
nothing else. Like that's okay. Pretty on the nose.
And then I'm like, oh, you know what? You are pretty on the nose about Canada also, but we just deny it, right? No, we're like, no, that's not true, eh? Stop saying those things. That's not true about us.
I know. And that's when you start doing this and you realize, oh crap, I do say about really weird. And I really need to drop this jaw when I say this stupid word.
I actually got to a point, and this sounds funny, I got to a point here accentuating my Canadianisms.
Oh yeah.
And the reason is, and this will sound very weird, but the amount of times that we got asked, "Where in the U.S. are you from?"
Mm-hmm.
Where in America? Here's the response: "Where in America are you from?"
Yep.
And I would say, actually, north and colder. I'm from Canada, eh? And they're like, "Oh, how are you then?" Like, so we would actually see, we had incidences here where if someone thought we were American, we actually received different levels of service.
Yeah.
And how they treat us. And the moment they found out we were Canadian, we were grand. Yeah. We were fine. Like, they loved us, right? So it's one of those things where I find I have a black and red plaid shirt. Mm-hmm. It's like a flag I wear around here all the time to let people know I'm Canadian. So it is kind of that accentuating of those things and stereotypes. Mm-hmm. But everyone says, "Oh, you don't sound Canadian." And my question is, what does Canadian sound like
That's
to you?
Great question.
And what the Canadian sounds like to these guys here is it's head on down there, boys. What you doing there? Oh, geez, now we're Dr. Murphy.
It sounds like them. It's the Irish. Like Newfoundland is like the Irish.
It's the
cousin.
Irish Newfoundland. Yes, yeah, because there's so much. Interesting note. A little bit of history lessons for you here. Mm-hmm. When the Great Famine happened in Ireland and people got on the boats and came over to the Americas, they settled in areas such as obviously Boston, right, New York. But what they did is when they landed in St. Lawrence in Quebec, they settled in Quebec and they headed east. Mm-hmm. And so they headed into your East Coast islands. So a lot of the accents you hear there are actually bloody messes and blends of Irish, Scottish, and there are contingents of Irish. You can go up there and you can find gravestones with like Fitzgerald, O'Connor, all of these Irish populations who came there, and so the Irish is thick on that side, and that's where you get a lot of that Newfie accent from. Actually,
absolutely,
it is breakdowns of that language. So they always assume that every Canadian, and so I have to say like, oh no, I'm far west Canada, and they're like, right. Oh, and they're like, where? It's like Calgary, Lethbridge, and they're like, don't know it.
Yeah, no.
Calgary, you're like, maybe. And I'm like, do you know where Banff is? They're like, sounds closer. I was like, Vancouver. And they're like, oh, yeah. And I was like, and I'm not even near Vancouver. I'm like 2 days drive Vancouver, but that's the reference point for you. I was like, fine. And everyone always says, I went to Toronto, beautiful city. I have some good friends there named Dave. Do you know Dave? And I'm like, I don't know Dave.
Is that unreal? Like, that's the stereotype, too, Dave. That people do that?
His last name, Dave Fitzgerald. Do you know Dave Fitzgerald? I don't know Dave. He's a good man. You should see him next time.
There's going to be like one time where somebody actually does know Dave or John or Mike or whoever it is, and like they'll just like prove that that's a question that you should be asking Canadians, and they'll just continue this. You got to hang out with a few people while you've been there. You got to hang out with Barry Dunn, with Paul Lloyd, Gary Gray. Yes. Who else have you been hanging out with over there?
Those are the three guys primarily. That's a good list.
You did my research.
It's been really amazing.
What did they do with the other part of the rest of Barry Dunn? What have they done with him?
Yeah, that man is thin. That man is
Holy
slender. I did
crap.
not realize that. Like I've never seen. Well, I've seen only on Skype, and the camera adds a couple pounds. But yeah, that man is thin.
No, he's been. I remember when I last talked to him, he's like, "Have you noticed anything different about me?" And I'm like, "You look thin." And this was a while ago, and he's been doing his work, man. Good for him.
Yeah, he's really good. Yeah, it's been great to meet those guys and just hang out with them, kind of increase our exposure here. And Gary and his family hosted me.
Yeah, man.
For like 3 days in their place in Birmingham, and just amazing people. And I chat with Gary probably a couple times a week, and hanging out with Paul and his wife and his family. It's just been amazing. And Barry, we met him last weekend, and we hung out. And we showcased Nintendo for like 8 hours of the day, and then it was just great. And actually, we're going to another conference, him and I, next weekend, and pretty much doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. What's that one called? I just saw a Twitter announcement on it.
Yeah, GXI, Game Expo Ireland.
Yeah.
And it's the first time ever that Nintendo of UK is coming to Ireland.
No way.
To support one of these events. So yeah, that was pretty fantastic. And like those things here are so accessible. Yeah. Like Sean, it cost me €40 to fly round trip from Dublin to Birmingham.
Come on, man.
Guess how much it cost me to park my car for the 5 days? €32.
Oh, jeez.
Like, it almost cost me more to park my car than to take the flight.
Well, I was going to say that's what's going to cost me. I'm going to be in Toronto next week. That's what I'm going to pay at least that to park my car for those days.
Oh, yeah, at least. Yeah. It's mad. So, yeah, it's been a great opportunity to see those guys as well. It's and we did invite Toby to actually come down to EGX, but I guess it was a 3-hour drive for him. So I was like, that's fair. Like, that seems like a lot.
He hates people, and he's got a baby on the way. So there's,
I think he hates me too. I don't know that for sure.
I don't think so. I thought you hated me for a while. Like, there's these jokes that were going on, and
no. Did you really think that?
I didn't really think, but I was like at that moment that like I'm about to start thinking about it. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I did something like, because sometimes here's the thing. Sometimes I say stuff without really thinking about it, and it's taken the wrong way. Maybe you did. I don't know, man. I just wouldn't rule it out, and it would be a reflection of me more than you.
Really? Yeah. No. I would say this. I pick on people who I know can take it, and who I consider friends that way.
That's fair. That's a very Alberta thing.
I would say take it as a compliment. If there was an issue like that, I know, definitely send me. All of my commentary, like, get rid of Sean on the show, that guy's useless, is all just good ribbing and fun, and none of that. Yeah.
So, can I ask you a question? I said I was gonna shit on the other guys, and I'm gonna do this at as we're coming to our time. Yeah. I'm upset for you, Justin.
Okay.
I'm upset for you at the Nintendo Dads.
Okay.
Because we've gone over the ordeal that you've gone through, the stress and the move, everything. It sounds awful. Yeah. You are a founding father, literally, of the Nintendo Dads. You were there when the idea was born out of a good old Canadian Tim Hortons. Yes. It was the love child of a double and a sweet tea and a steep tea bag.
I'm going to pause you on that one. There is a Tim Hortons in Glasgow, Scotland. The only one in all of the UK, and I had the opportunity to go there, and nothing felt better than having a Timbit.
How was it going into a Tim Hortons, that the very first one that didn't have a line out the door?
It wasn't too bad. Like, I was kind of like, this is a nice change. This is pleasant. I'll take this. But then I go to the till, and I was like, hi, A. Can I have a double A and a box of Timbits? It'd be great.
Nobody says A that much.
Oh, I did. I was like, do I have a Canadian card? Let me pass that out, right? And I was like, haha. And the lady's like, oh yeah, that's it. And I was like, I don't like. And it was just a thick Scottish accent. She's like, oh yeah, it's fine then. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. Yeah. It's like 95% of this feels true, and then 5% feels false.
That's really funny. You're just in this like B grade movie, and they've just subbed out all the actors with anyway. Why?
So you're upset with the Nintendo
I'm upset with the Nintendo Dads because you are a founding father, and the idea was born out of a double touching a steep tea bag, Justin. Yep. And it's a beautiful show, and I love it, and I truly feel like you guys are like the godfathers of so many podcasts, and there's so many Nintendo shows that have popped up in your honor, and so many of us have met each other because of you guys. And you move over to Ireland, and they still record at midnight Eastern Standard Time or whatever it ends up being. I think 10 p.m. Mountain Time, the only time that matters.
Yes.
Can there not be? Can we not get you on the show and so that you don't have to wake up at 3:30 in the morning and make your tea and tiptoe around your Irish cottage house?
Sure.
Can we do something here? Can we talk about this? What the hell, man?
Let's have a chat about that. Yeah, no, it is, and it's funny because I think the first week I came back and because I'll actually be quite honest. I think I talked to you about it before. Mm-hmm. It was questionable whether I was going to come back at all.
Yeah.
So I had we had a conversation for a bit of like, it just, me recording at 4 a.m. just seems stupid.
No kidding.
Is it adding any value to the show? Am I falling asleep? Am I just damaging myself? Right, like it's just not a good place to be, folks.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of consideration of whether I was going to come back. And my wife is super supportive. She's like, "Of course you're going to do it." I was like, "I don't know," and she's like, "Well, you give it a crack and see how it goes." So I think the first couple times I recorded at 4, like it was a mess. Like I'm pretty sure I fell asleep on my mic at least once.
God, no kidding.
And it was funny because I think it was like Bobby reached out to me afterwards, Adam reached out to me, and they're like, "Listen, I don't want to say this, but seriously, if you want to come just on someone else's show, we'll take you." Right. Like if you just want to like just leave and come, kind of we'll figure out a way to record around you because it's just. I mean, we'll sort it, sir.
We just brought Joseph Moran on to make us better, but like the ink is barely dry, man. And I think it may have been like written in those erasable pens, whatever they call the pen mates or whatever. You just turn the thing around and it mostly just tears up the piece of paper. It's like they got rocks built into that eraser. We could get rid of them. We'll take Justin Masson. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, it's like trading cards, right?
Let's do it because
we'll have to have like press conferences,
dude. Trading cards for the podcast community is the greatest idea. Gary Gray, please. Oh, we need to make this a thing.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
And we have so many artists, Gary Gray and Adam Leonard and all the people who make up drawings. And this would be, we could have like the upper deck versions and then the OPC cards. Like I think like Gary Gray would be like OPC because he's got like the cartoony kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Pro Set.
I love
this. Yes. This is
and that could be like a huge joint effort and we could like send it out to everybody.
I can't even hold on to my pen. It literally, my pen just jumped out of my...
Like, I'm seeing like you are hyped for this idea. I love this actually.
This is also the coffee's getting down to the empty price.
Caffeine is
just like, not really great idea.
I gotta write this down.
I do have to write this down. Podcaster. Okay. What the hell was I asking you?
Why are we recording at 4 a.m. and why am I there?
Yeah. Can you know what, Justin?
Can I talk to my... Well, I'll talk to you a little bit about my logic about that. So my logic there is that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. Mm-hmm. It's very Leonard Nimoy Spock for those of you that appreciate the Star Trek 2 reference there.
Love it.
But it was more...
Do you want to like touch hands on the webcam?
Yeah, like there we go. Right. Yeah. But it was easier for the other guys. Right. Sure. And so I will make the adjustments to go with that. And then I also don't really want to, I'm also very cognitive of the community that we have created that tune in on Wednesday nights, that are there to join, right? Sure. And the disruption to what that means for their schedule too. So I'm very cautious to make adjustments for those pieces.
Right.
So that was why I kind of still do it. I've listened to times when I come back on, even this week, and it makes it sound like I'm a guest coming back. Yeah. I was like, "Oh, thanks for having me." I was like, "What the hell? What do you mean having me?"
Right.
Like, it's part of my show. Why am I doing this? But
exactly.
That's a little bit of the reasoning there. But I have got better at now figuring out how I sleep. Because I used to wake up like 3 o'clock, kind of go downstairs, make myself a cup of tea, get everything ready, kind of get ready for 4 o'clock to come on. But like nobody's getting on till like 4:10, and then Zach's figuring a soundboard, and it's not till like 4:45 we're starting. And I was like, screw you, hippie. Like now I'm not getting up till 10 minutes. I'm not getting up till 5 or 10 minutes to 4 o'clock, and then I'll sort this out.
Yep.
Because I know we're not going to be ready till 4:30. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I also think some of the best moments have come out of tired Justin, right? Because I mean, we've had grumpy, tired Justin, which is good. We had my shirt off a couple of shows ago.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, like stuff like that. Like that's gold that I think had I been fully conscious and awake, I don't think you'd have. So
that's fair. Well, that's very Canadian of you, very kind of you to think of the team. Everybody's got to give 110%, all lines firing. most people have no idea what we're talking about. These are just general like hockey interview.
Yeah. You got to give 110%. Go there and watch
just
your
take
defense.
one game at a time, play a full 60 minutes.
Yeah.
This is garbage like that. Okay, well, I wanted to explore that a little bit, and I'm not surprised you gave me such a bullshit, non-angry. I wanted to maybe we could pretend like they're not listening just for a second, and you could just say wow, yeah, I can't believe they're totally disrespecting me.
I'll tell you the real truth.
Yeah,
here it is. Do you have it? Can I swear in the show?
Do it.
Zach Erickson's an asshole.
Oh, there it is. Here we go.
That guy is so controlling on his shit.
Okay.
That's what it is. Listen, champ, if I'm showing up at 4 a.m., you better goddamn be ready for me. This is hot takes. Do you know what I'm saying? That's
getting out of the way.
That's what it is, right? He thinks he owns that soundboard. Listen, I'm just touch the button. All right. Listen, I will tell us when we start. Right. That's the issue.
That's what I'm trying to encourage here. I'm so glad I had you on second, by the way. I'm so glad that I don't have to face Zach now.
I heard his upsetness about my 11 out of 10. Screw you, hippie. It's my call.
Well,
you didn't get the review copy.
He felt that he needed to. He fixed that twice over. He had his own review that went out on the YouTube channel. Then he came on here, and I got to tell you, Justin, I think I'm with him.
What? That's not an 11 out of 10?
I mean, I feel like no game is an 11 out of 10. I don't even know what the hell you're breaking your scale.
I think a game that evolutionizes or revolutionizes the series and beyond perfection breaks the scale.
Okay, I feel like you actually deserve. We were joking for a second. I feel like you do. I gave Zach a whole whatever it was.
Sure.
20 minutes to talk about it. Why? So maybe this one will be because the whole title of that one was Mario is not an 11 out of 10. This one will just confuse the hell out of people and say Mario is an 11 out of 10. Why?
Because what I think what occurred in I think Odyssey is that they really did move and change the series direction. And I think I would argue that Super Mario 3 would be an 11 out of 10. They made some fundamental changes to the game. I think it revolutionized the series. I think Super Mario World, Super Mario 64. I don't necessarily think that Sunshine did. I think Galaxy was a 10 out of 10. I don't think it revolutionized anything, but I think Odyssey did. And I think Odyssey also, there was so much nostalgia and so much fun associated. I smiled through that entire game, the entire way through. Now, is there things I'm not a fan of in it? Of course, there are things I don't think is a fan, but I think it changed the approach of Mario, and it gave us something fresh. And I think kind of the same way that we look at Zelda. I don't think. So when I think
is Zelda an 11 out of 10?
In my books, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to establish what's the scale here.
Yeah. Where's the line, right?
Yeah. So context helps.
So my question would be can you tell me what the next Zelda game is like? That has to build off the Breath of the Wild. Is it going to use Breath of the Wild characteristics, engines, ideas, fundamentals, right? Or is it back to scratch? Can you and I think it changed how we approach Zelda, the franchise. What is the next step going to be? I pity the people who are literally in Nintendo being so what is our next Zelda game? Right? Because you're you have to beat that. I don't know how you beat that right now.
But I think that I'm gonna maybe give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt here. If you make that game, if you understand the fiber, the DNA of its being, that allows you to then speak about the next thing from a foundation that you actually could take that step and move on. Whereas we're in the clouds, we have no idea how did this come about, and then how do you iterate from there?
But I think, and the thing that you said there is that they understand its DNA, and that DNA helps it move forward because it's evolving. And I think Breath of the Wild was the evolving point for what the next Zelda is.
Do you think Mario goes to that sort of model? Not necessarily that I want to do shrines all the time, but it's just this one giant world, no loading screens or anything like that. It's just huge. And I want to because Mario is the ultimate traversal character. He has better jumping, better running, better anything than anybody else who's out there. And it's funny that, he didn't need as much help as maybe Link did, where he just learned how to jump without being automatically doing it for you and everything like that, and now he can climb up everything. So he had a lot of potential and a lot of room for improvement. Whereas Mario, it's like, well, he already has all these skills. Maybe he just needs a bigger playground. And that's kind of my biggest thing against Odyssey. And it's, again, this is a 10 out of 10. This is 9 out of 10. This is like excellent game. But I kind of still felt like it was like that linear, like I'm going to go from this world to this world to this world instead of playing around in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely that linearness to it, right? But I think the once you finished the core campaign, and obviously I don't want to go too far, all of a sudden that linearness changes, right? And you can go where you want.
Nobody's described that to me, actually. Right? And maybe I'm just not paying attention to the reviews because I really don't want to do that.
Yeah, and when you think about it, the amount of stars or moons that you require to complete I guess I'm going to use the word the minimum requirements to finish the game is in relation to the moons that you need are quite low. Like it's a 20%, if not less. I want to think it's less than that actually, right? Because I completed it with 175 moon pieces. Yeah, and if there's 99. Right now, I have the ability to go wherever I want, explore however I want, right, and not necessarily be in a linear. Now, so that could be also the kind of the core story feels a bit shy. But what I think are the fun moments about the moments that make me smile is that exploration afterwards. Like I kind of wanted to get through the story beats because now I could be free. Yeah. Right. I wanted to get through the first, the plateau, the Great Plateau, so that now I could be free. And that's kind of that versioning of it, right? We have this stock Mario story we're going to tell you that you need to understand and actually tutorializes you for some of the things you need to know. But it's really the adventure that you have when you go back that I think is so important to the game, to the length of this game. If you were just going for, I need my 170 moon pieces and I beat Bowser, boy, this is kind of shit after that. Okay, then I can see why that might not be a great experience, but it's that ability to go back and explore. And just, you know what, just the amount of callbacks. Yeah. Like I smiled, and there were moments I was like, yeah, right, like audibly, I was like, yes, and I think that, or those moments like, no, they didn't do that. Did they do that? Oh, they did that? Are you kidding me? And it was funny because I had got and sorry, it's a little bit of like, background baseball or what's the word?
Inside baseball. There
it is. I was like, backside baseball. That's not it. Inside baseball.
It's a sex movie.
Yeah, I think so. That's when the nut. Never mind. By the way, my Bulmers was done like 40 minutes ago.
You chugged it on demand.
I did. I don't remember what I was saying now because I'm stuck on the baseball. But, sorry. I had got the game 9 days or 10 days before the review went up to play. So I was experiencing a lot of these really amazing stellar moments and couldn't talk to anybody about it.
That's what I wanted to ask you about is like, that's the whole thing is that you can't really like, am I crazy? Is this the best game that's ever been created? Like, and then I think that's the side of reviewing games that not a whole lot of people get to experience. Like, especially for the most part, if people were to write a review, it's generally you get it on the day that it's released and then you form your opinion, but it's never in a vacuum. Unless you lock yourself away in a quarantine, you can't really form your opinion without at least seeing a couple scores. You go like, that's kind of pulling me in this way, or you have an adverse reaction. Like if I see your 11 out of 10, I go, nope. And I have to talk to people who go, not even close. It's a 7 out of 10 at best. Like you have that opposite reaction. So like, talk to me about that whole side of it all, where you really have to think about this. I went through it with the Xbox One X recently.
I saw that.
Holy
by the way.
crap! This is not good. Like this is, and I can't talk to anybody about it except for this one other person who's also saying that it's not that great. And then you keep working at it. You keep like, I have to form an opinion. I've literally had people tell me I'm basing this $500 decision based on what you're going to tell me. And I'm like, at this moment, I would say cancel your pre-order because I'm hovering over my cancel. But then everything worked out and it's a great console and that all as well. But talk to me about that on your side of things.
Yeah, so that really was a huge challenge, and this was, I think, the first. And so the interesting part was this actually was the first game that I had got a capture unit for specifically too.
Oh, nice!
So I was doing my first actual like capture video unit and everything, and I was plotting all the moments, and I was sitting playing, so you're experiencing these things, and I'm taking like screenshots, and I was like, oh my gosh, and then like the video function had got updated too, so I was capturing small videos, and I was like, oh, this is amazing, and I'm like, and I can't share any of it, because if I share any of it, it breaks embargo, right? Like it's like, I'm like, oh, you're kidding me.
It's amazing that worked before, because sometimes they'll shut that feature down for some games, like depending on when before or after release and things like that.
Well, yeah, and that was such a weird one because they had done the update. I had Odyssey, and I was like, they didn't say in the press release that Odyssey was included, but I'm like, Odyssey has to be included. So literally on the show, I'm like playing. I was like, FYI news break, Odyssey's included, right? So, but just it was this weird isolation, and then there was these things. I'm like, these are cool moments, but these are cool moments to me. Does everyone else think these are cool moments?
Right.
Right? Is everybody else enjoying this? Like, or is it just my nostalgia? And that was really hard. And then I had the opportunity to connect with some other reviewers, much like you, who did have it. So Roger's Base, Andre Seegers had got copies of it as well. Yeah. So we kind of had a bit of I was able to chat with those guys as well. I'm like, so how are you? Like, where are you guys sitting with this as well? Is there like, am I mad? So it kind of allowed me to level set some of where I was sitting as well, and starting to see their feedback and their reactions. I was like, okay, I'm not completely mad about it. Yeah. Or like, not my reaction isn't crazy. The 11 out of 10 is also something that it was so funny because I didn't score the game 11 out of 10 in the video.
Right. It was the screenshot, the thumbnail that you had on Twitter.
I was just like, yeah, it's awesome. I love it. You guys should definitely get it. And so we put it out, and then someone sent me a message, and they're like, what, no score? And I was like, oh, yeah, I usually don't do scores. I just like, yeah, I would do it, like recommend it that way. Because people are like, is it a 9 or is it a 9.5? Oh, you only gave it an 8? You must hate it. And you're like, no, like, yeah. And the scores are such a weird leveling stick. Like, let's be honest. I've gone to IGN and I'm like, hey, I wonder what they've given this game. And I didn't even read the freaking review. Yeah. I saw who wrote it. Do I respect them as a person and as a person who I think is a valuable voice? And I scroll down to the very bottom and I look at what number it is and I look at the pros and cons, which I'm like, that's like 140 characters. Yeah. And that's it. And yet there's paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs above, but that's the thing that matters to me. Yeah. I'm like, that's a weird thing.
I hate I do that. I do the exact same thing. And especially somebody who writes them, it's like, well, I would love for people to read it, but I quite often don't read it. So that's so okay, so you probably should have led with that, by the way, like to say, 11 out of 10 was on Twitter, but like, let's be honest, scores are stupid.
Yeah, well, and there is a little bit of like pointing your nose at it, right? Yeah. Like they're so now I was like, it's an 11 out of 10, right? Like how can I say any better that this is freaking amazing? Yeah, right. Yeah. So here you go, here's my score. So I was like, I'll do a quick screenshot, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, he gave it an 11 out of 10, this is mad. And I was like, I'm going to tell you how much time I spent writing that. Literally a minute. And it was trying to figure out how to get the font moved properly so it wasn't over top of his head.
Yeah, man.
Right? So like that was it.
What about like the way that Mario landed in the year for you? Like, I just kind of want to, as we close things out here, I kind of want to get a sense of 2017 for you has been nuts. Yes. How has gaming been in 2017? And then I guess leading up to the release of Mario, I think for me, like, it landed on a day that everything came out and things had come out a week before and a week after. So that's difficult. But how has 2017 been for you? Have you played the games you wanted to play?
Yeah, I think I have. It's been an amazing year for games. Yeah, man. Right, like, especially as a person who only plays Nintendo games, like and a flood of it. And I guess that connection is. It has been a great year for Nintendo dads, right? So right. If Nintendo is having a really good year, that seems to trickle down to Nintendo dads in a very positive way. Yep. So we've had a fantastic year just with our fan base growing, our exposure, our access to developers, our access to games, early access, building a fantastic community that supports it. More and more people who love what we do. We're hearing that feedback, who want what we do. Those are all amazing things. To a point now where it's almost too much. And actually, I would say it is too much. Yeah. Like, it feels like you could have given some of these games. And if you go from someone who had a Wii U like I did, who was kind of like in drought. Yeah. Right.
But kind of happy about it too, though. Like, where you kind of like, yeah, I can dive into this game for 2 months at a time.
Yeah, exactly. I've got Paper Mario Color Splash. I got 7 months to finish that game. Sweet. Yeah, totally. Right. Like, and the other thing is that you would also look at anything that came on the eShop and you're like, oh, that looks really interesting. Maybe I will get that. Oh yeah, okay. And you might try things you may not have normally had before. Right. Where now we're getting AAA titles from Nintendo every single month. We're getting indies that are putting out 2 to 3, like indies every month now there's about 4 or 5 indie games that I'm like, that scratches my itch. And there's other ones I'm like, that looks interesting, but I don't have the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing I actually find I'm more struggling with is I love the content, but I find it's actually too much, and I need more time to really spend with those games, to really enjoy them more, to squeeze the life out of them in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. I was talking about in a recent episode of Nintendo Dads that I was thinking about getting Xenoblade Chronicles too.
You're nuts.
And I'm not. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I can't do it. I don't. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Right.
I
got like, bronchitis.
Are you kidding me? Like, I know that Zelda's DLC is coming. I've still got more moons. I've got DLC from Rabbids.
It's way too logical of a thought, man. This is where your like organizational skills are actually getting in the way of your gaming, and well, it's actually more of like a Dave and John type of illness where you just buy things and you don't even know why you're buying them, or you're too organized in that way.
Well, and the thing is that as I was packing up a lot of my stuff to move or keeping in stores, I didn't bring my Wii U over here. I just brought my Switch and my 3DS.
Yeah. And
realizing like how much of a backlog of stuff I already have.
Yeah.
Right. And just how much content is already accessible to me that and everyone's like, oh, did you pick up Doom? I'm like, I don't have time. I don't have time for Doom. And then I mean, I'm sure you guys kind of realize it as well that, developers are reaching out to you and they're reaching out to us more and more. And it's like, we'd love for you to play our game.
Yep.
So then there's commitments that I want to play these other games that are available to us as well. And so
there's comfort in that too. Like it's a double-edged sword of like, yes, I mean, obviously super lucky to be approached to play these things and to form opinions on them and discuss them and all those things. That's great. There's also the positive of, well, I was having decision paralysis, so if you're making the choice for me, yes, I will play It'll Do 2 on the plane going to Toronto. That's great. I can't wait. But then the other side is like, I don't really want to play that game, but it's all, and that sounds like a total complaint. Man, I played Skyforge on Xbox One. I never in 1,000 years would have played that, and I had a great time. And it's just like, it's such a stupid game, and it's a free to play, and all the words that like MMORPG, LMNOP, and sometimes Y, I was just like, But I tried it, and it's awesome. So we are very fortunate at the end of the day to be able to do all that. And it's powered by the fans, man.
Are. Oh, and 100% it is, right? Like it's mad. Like it blows my mind that the people again have found somewhere they like to be. They like what we do.
Well, you're a great guy, Justin.
They're passionate. You're too kind.
Okay, enough of this like stroking each other's egos.
Yep.
Do you have anything else, man? Before I totally cut you off and kill my dog.
Yeah. So when are we actually hitting record?
Oh.
When are we starting this thing?
So I was thinking I was going to get one more cup of coffee. Actually, maybe I could text Chelsea and get some beers to actually get up in here.
There you go.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, my dogs have been like, well, we'd like to go outside now, but...
Yeah. I guess the final notes I would say is a couple things. I would say for you, how are things going for you, by the way? I want to ask you that. With you as a new dad, we talked a little bit in the pre-show. Right? How is that treating you? And obviously, talked about your travels coming up soon. How are you doing with all that?
I'm good, man. I've been trying to actively work on myself. I've been trying to identify when stresses are like overcoming or overwhelming and things like that. Focusing on. I was talking about this with somebody else recently, where I've identified with like Josh Stapleton and Antonio Guillen and the people who we know who have like gone out of their way to do kind things for others. And I have been reflecting on this a lot and Luke Lohr and all these people who've like reached out and really enhanced their lives in this way. And I'm like, what a ripple effect. Like what an amazing thing that has happened. Just, I mean, for us putting ourselves out there through this show, but for people to come out and do amazing things for us and with us. And I'm like, they don't have to do that. And like, they probably have no idea what impact that they're having. And I've realized that I'm like, I want to do more of that. Like I want to go out of my way to try and do kind things for others. And it's not like I'm a dick to people, but just they really like they're on another level. Yeah. So I feel like that kind of brings another level of happiness, and it's another like positive thing to get around in. And rest is obviously super important. And but yeah, man, like I've been doing really well, and Chelsea is just a champion. Like she's just super mom, and just I don't know how she does it. Like operates on half as much sleep, does 6 times more than I can ever do. Thinks of every possible solution, knows like anytime that she ever goes like, oh man, I was gonna, like, we're baby-led weaning, where you let the kid just kind of like feed themselves and you give them real food and don't do like the purees and stuff like that. And pretty like hippie kind of hipster kind of like, oh, my kid is doing like totally just that end of things, which comes with basically any parenting decision, as you probably know. You're second guessing yourself, and then a second guess from everybody else. So it was this whole thing, and Chelsea's so confident with it that I had no idea. She's like, yeah, I was gonna stop doing that, and I'm like, you just seem to have this. And talking about you guys and moving to Ireland and you looking at each other, realize we're a team. Like, I identify with that so much with Chelsea because like we are so there for each other, and that's the positive that I always take out of like anytime that when the stress becomes a little bit much, I go, we are so good together. Like, and it's so funny because when we first moved in together, there was like, where do we put all these things? And I don't know where anything is. And all these, like, when you get to know each other on that level, I'm like, I'm like, we basically formed this relationship like around a love for video games. And I'm like, was that a smart idea? Like, I really looked at like, it really made me evaluate that at the time. And like, thankfully, like, there's way more to it than that, obviously. But like, I kind of like, I'm like, so we like video games. Like, can we live together? Does that mean we can live together? And, you know, I look at our partnership all the time, and that's really kind of what allows me to keep going and be better and trying to improve. And Lincoln is just like, he's just the best, man. Like, he will just break out into this giant smile when you walk in the door, and you can throw him up in the air and he's laughing away, and he's awesome. So yeah, I'm doing great. You know, I thank you for asking. I think I'll always look back to the Lohr episode, actually, as just like, what a moment where I was on video, like, basically because the chat was scheduled for that time. That's the only reason that was captured in that way. Otherwise, it would have been just maybe another episode, like, not an episode of the show, like an episode of that would have came and went, and probably wouldn't. Like, I probably wouldn't have had a healing out of it with it, which I did. So I will always have that to be grateful for. And I also had a great chat with Zach just a couple of weeks ago. So this show has always helped from the very beginning, from just kind of letting people talk. And now I'm doing a little bit more talking about that kind of stuff. And it's super helpful, man. And also, I think we all kind of are in this together, where we look at each other and go like, well, yeah, like, it's like it's real life. It's not it's not TV. It's not social media. This is not like every day may be harder than the previous day, but that's okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think when you become a parent, and you are put through some challenges that you never thought you'd experience in your life, right? And some stuff that you're like, are you kidding me? Like, nothing prepares you to be a parent.
By the way, you're not rested.
Yeah, exactly. And you never, like, every day I feel like I probably got it under control. There's 3 days later that I won't. I'll feel like, no, what am I doing? Like, I'm still wrong in this, right? And my kids are 9 and 7. Yeah. Right? Like, you kind of have to be okay with this perpetual, dear God, we're holding on to the edge of this, but I've got you, you've got me, we've got him or her, and that's okay together. Yeah. And as long as those things are together, you can figure it out.
Well, and I feel like talking about it in that way, like, very real. It's not like, you know, before Lincoln was born, you get the pretty like canned responses of like, well, you're gonna be tired, and like, not really anything substantial, like, not really any contextual materials to go through, or advice or conversations that happen. Like, basically, it's just surface level stuff. Like, you're gonna be tired and it's hard, but it's like, why is it hard? Like, what is it about it? And it's just kind of like, think about doing something for the very first time, like whatever it is. If you're typing for the first time and you're learning how to type, and it's like, do I even need to do this? Like, what is my life? How is my life going to be better if I learn how to type 60 words per minute? And why don't I just finger pick? And by the way, you're going to be learning this under with 2 hours sleep. So learning is already going to be difficult, and just trust that putting in the work is going to benefit later. So with parenting, it's like, do I have to read them a bedtime story? Do I have to, like, he looks pretty clean. Does he need a bed? But look, Those are the good things to do, and you don't even know how it's going to benefit, but you just put in the work, you put your head down, even though you're tired as hell, and you do the things that are hard because you just that's what you do.
Yeah. The closest thing I would imagine that new parenting is in relation to something else is like torturing in Guantanamo Bay.
Right, totally, exactly.
It's probably because right, it is sleep deprivation.
Right.
It is probably malnourishment from yourself. It is.
I eat lots of protein bars.
Are you? You're okay? Okay.
No, that's it.
Am I going to be okay? Am I doing this okay? Like, am I going to survive? And then to your point that you mentioned as well, and then you've got this other person, not only this new child that can't communicate to you effectively, but then you've got a partner who is experiencing the same thing, but also, in your wife's situation, or probably a lot of other emotions going on that you don't understand fully and can't comprehend.
Right.
And then to just try and sort your way, right? So answers like you're going to be tired. It's like what does that mean? That means you at days don't even understand. Don't even you walked outside the house and you didn't understand or realize that you literally have puke all over your shirt because you're so exhausted that you didn't know. Mm-hmm. Right. And everyone's like, oh, new dad look. And you're like, screw you, hippie. Right. Like,
that's my favorite thing that you say.
Don't you start with me.
I think, right? And these are all rational things. Like, these are all, even the way that we're contextualizing all of this, and not to go on too much longer about it, but these are all things that even a rational person can understand. But it's hard to convey the irrational mind. You're not thinking straight. And that's about as close as I think that I can get to kind of describing that. Is and I'm very self-reflective in that way, and I know when I'm not myself, and I know when I'm not thinking straight, but I'm like, is that, like, this happens so often, is that actually part of my identity, which is a whole spiral of like, get Zach back in here kind of thing. But yeah, man, like, that's kind of that's the side that is really hard to talk about, because it's a different angle. You wake up and you like, did I close my... And I'm getting way more sleep than Chelsea. Like, way more sleep. So, like, I sleep like a rock, and she, like... I just don't even bring up, like... So, last night was good, last night was bad. I just assume it was horrible because, like, I slept.
Yeah.
So...
Because you don't want to brag.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that person like, you know what, I did not hear a sound for 8 hours, and it was the best thing in the world. And they're like, oh, you didn't hear Lincoln crying for 4 hours, and me screaming at you to wake up.
Yeah.
You didn't see me considering to put a pillow over your face. No, you didn't hear that. Oh, you didn't hear that.
Now, one of these days, I'm just gonna not wake up.
He's not gonna wake up.
Anyway,
he's not gonna wake up.
At the risk of going into Nintendo Dad's territory of the Godfather length podcast.
Oh, geez,
Justin, please, as if they don't already know, where can people look you up on the internet and bug you to be on the Nintendo Dads more often?
Yeah. You can find me at Masson23, MASSON23. That's on the Twitter. And Nintendo Dads is a thing you've probably heard a lot about and you follow, and we're on all those social media stuff and podcasters. But I would more encourage you, if you're going to do one thing, I would encourage you to go tell a friend to follow this show and support and share this show, because I think this is doing better work.
You know how I get with this, Justin. I know you don't like it. I
really truly believe. I'm gonna instead of stroking our egos, I do want to say in front of everyone, the 3 viewers you have. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you all. Antonio, Dave Moore, and Johnny. Thank you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Is that I truly believe the content that you're putting out here is incredible, and I think you raise the bar for a lot of us.
Thanks, man.
To do better and to be better, and the shows that you're hosting and the work that you're doing, I think it's mad.
Well, I really appreciate it. I should probably hit record now.
Yeah, the only thing you could do better is probably just dumping Bobby. That'd be my other suggestion. Peace out. I'm out.
Thanks to you guys. Thanks to all of your support. That's 2 returning guests coming back to We the GamerCast. And this is like one of my favorite things, just to catch up with an old friend. Usually we talk to strangers, but now I'm talking to old. I've touched Justin Masson. We've hugged. So not to brag or anything. So thank you guys so much for making this happen over at patreon.com/makeusbetter. You can continue to make all of this, the Gaming Gurus, the PlayStation Podcast, and what's the other one? Oh yeah, that other show that I used to do for Nintendo. We're going to continue to push, guys. We're going to keep making this better. So feel free if you haven't already. This content is for everybody, but you, by helping out on patreon.com/makeisbetter, it's going to make it better for everyone. So please consider it if you like. If not a big deal. We're going to be back on Monday with a new episode. So until then, I just want to say thank you to our artists, Gary Gray and Adam Leonard, and our video designer, Antonio Guillen. You know that this episode and all of these episodes are powered by the Dayspace or Forget Being Cool network of podcasts. And that's pretty much it. Otherwise, this is episode 116, now in your ears and your eyeballs. Thank you for listening and watching. We'll be back on Monday. And now it's time for Patrick Stewart at the drive. I think this is going to stick, you guys. Lincoln, say bye.
Hello, I'm Patrick Stewart, star of TV's Star Trek: The Next Generation, and the host of the documentary series MGM, When the Lion Roars.
Okay, that's fine, sir. Can I take your order?
Yes, you can.
And what is your order, sir?
I'll have a quarter pounder with cheese and a side order of fries.
Would you like it?
And a fillet. Oh, fish.
Would you like a cold drink with that, sir?
Yes. Yes. For the sake of the future of all mankind, I will have a small Sprite.
Okay, sir, that's $5.20. Could you proceed to the first window?
The first window. The first portal to a new dimension. One greater, one more wondrous than our own.
No, just the first window of the drive-thru, please, sir.
Yes, then so it is that I proceed to this window of which you speak.
Thank you, sir.
Approaching warp speed.
What the f***? Mate, did you just drive into the back of me?
Yes, it is so.
Mate, are you some kind of f***ing comedian?
I am Patrick Stewart.
Mate, get out of the f***ing car.
And so, with heavy heart, I hereby withdraw from the vehicle.
Mate, look what you've done to my f***ing Duco.
You accuse me.
Mate, f***ing I do. Here's your order, sir.
What manner of burger is this? And these slivers of potato extract?
Hey, Chrome Dome, are you gonna f***ing pay for my car or not, mate?
I am under attack. I must reason with this.
Mate, you are talking out your f***ing ass.
And so it is that I bid you and your people farewell.
What a f***ing dead shit.